Modafinil is a stimulant that's preferentially referred to as a wakefulness-promoting drug, since its stimulant effects are often subtle. It is used for many disorders that prominently feature sedation and fatigue. People also take it for cognitive-enhancing purposes and because it can help them remain alert for a longer period. The positive effects of modafinil include mood lift, wakefulness, cognitive enhancement, improved task enjoyment, and greater motivation. Among the possible negative effects are appetite reduction, increased heart rate and blood pressure, headache, nausea, anxiety, diarrhea, insomnia, and dry mouth. It has shown efficacy for excessive sleepiness associated with narcolepsy, obstructive sleep apnea, shift work sleep disorder, and other conditions. Modafinil has been widely adopted for medical and non-medical purposes because it does promote wakefulness, is perceived to have a low abuse potential, and because it has fewer stimulant side effects. The drug has been studied for other applications, like addressing the sedation and fatigue associated with multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and cancer. Some militaries have used it to mitigate the negative effects of sleep deprivation, since it has been shown to greatly reduce sleep deprivation-induced cognitive deficits. There is conflicting information about its ability to provide euphoria. The general conclusion is that euphoria effectively does not exist with the drug, but modafinil can provide some level of mood lift. Modafinil's usual mood effects are minimal, with a trend towards positive. For some people, they may be negative, however, such as increased anxiety. One of the substance's greatest applications has been in the area of cognitive enhancement. Modafinil certainly helps with cognitive performance in sleep-deprived people and may also help in certain conditions like ADHD and schizophrenia. For healthy people, there's a lot of conflicting research, but there appear to be some positive effects. Very few studies have found negative effects, whereas quite a few suggest it can improve memory and executive functions, leading to general cognitive improvement. The positive effects may be greater in those who are low performing. Orally, modafinil lasts for 6 to 12 hours and begins working in 20 to 45 minutes. Most of the effects are greatly diminished by 8 or 10 hours, but you may have trouble sleeping for a few more hours. Because of its fairly long duration, single dosing is often adequate in medical and non-medical settings. Modafinil is a racemic mixture of its R and S isomers. Both are active, but R-modafinil is much longer lasting. The drug's pharmacology is somewhat complex, but its most important actions now seem to come from dopamine and norepinephrine systems. To varying degrees, an increase in dopamine, norepinephrine, serotonin, glutamate, and histamine, coupled with decreases in GABA and increased orexin neuron activation, may affect the drug's pharmacology. Modafinil binds to and inhibits the dopamine transporter and norepinephrine transporter. It is now believed those two actions are very important. The dopamine actions may play the greatest role, with norepinephrine also affecting its activity and the various other actions contributing to a smaller degree. In medical settings, 200 milligrams taken once per day is a common dosing regimen. A light oral dose is 50 to 100 milligrams, a common dose is 100 to 200 milligrams, and a strong dose is 200 to 300 milligrams. Modafinil's history begins with adrafinil, which is metabolized into modafinil. Adrafinil was discovered in 1974, and it entered the French market in the 1980s. Shortly after adrafinil's creation, its active metabolite, modafinil, was also found. Modafinil was then developed and researched in the 1980s. It was first marketed in France, and it was approved by the FDA in 1998 under the name Provigil. It has since been approved in the US for drowsiness associated with narcolepsy, obstructive sleep apnea, and shift work sleep disorder. Militaries around the world, including in Canada, the US, China, South Korea, and France, have investigated modafinil. They have primarily looked into the drug as a way to preserve cognitive performance in the face of long missions and sleep deprivation. It has emerged as one of the most widely discussed cognitive enhancers. A notable percentage of college students have reported taking so-called study drugs, with modafinil being a top substance in that population. The vast majority of modafinil's use is either off-label or in non-medical settings. The drug is Schedule 4 in the US. Elsewhere, it's more often just a prescription drug rather than an illegal substance, so there are varying levels of control on its use and availability. Modafinil carries few risks at common doses for healthy people. It has also been fairly low risk in significant overdoses. The drug usually isn't connected to stimulant psychosis, seizure, or severe life-threatening responses. In vulnerable people, doses of around 400 milligrams may raise the chance of mania and psychosis, but those aren't common effects of the substance. Overdoses with thousands of milligrams have been reported, all of which have resulted in non-life-threatening responses so far. An overdose primarily results in insomnia, tachycardia, hypertension, and anxiety. It may also cause stomach upset, nausea, tremor, dizziness, and hallucinations. In one case, a 37-year-old female took 1,600 milligrams and ended up with tachycardia, agitation, visual hallucinations, and involuntary mouth and face movements. She did not encounter any particularly dangerous effects. Another case with a 15-year-old female who was attempting suicide with 5,000 milligrams included a severe headache, nausea, abdominal pain, and tachycardia. No respiratory or cardiovascular issues that could be viewed as dangerous were seen. These are the kind of responses that have so far been seen with the drug. Normal doses rarely result in negative effects beyond the level of stomach upset, insomnia, and anxiety. There are a few cases of major hypersensitivity reactions, but these responses are incredibly rare. If you have a flu-like response or rash upon taking the drug, you should stop using it and monitor your response carefully to see if medical attention is required. Even though tolerance has not really been reported in medical settings, it does appear to exist to some extent in non-medical settings, but it can be greatly minimized by only taking the drug a few times per week. Even with daily use, withdrawal has largely not been reported, though there are a few reports of lethargy and depressed mood. Some of the risky combinations include other stimulants and MAOIs. If you have any questions about modafinil, feel free to leave them in the comment section. In order for the drug classroom to provide more education, support is necessary, and the best way to support is through Patreon at patreon.com/thedrugclassroom. You can also contribute through YouTube, PayPal, or Bitcoin. You can connect with me on Twitter at Seth A. Fitzgerald and via email at seth@thedrugclassroom.com. More information and links to references can be found on the TDC website using the link below.